music. Shutterstock Music.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Black College Experience. I'm one half of your Black College Experience team here in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and on her way back to Atlanta, we have the founder of Black College Experience, the one and only Keisha Kelly. What's going on, Kels?
I am commuting through the traffic. It's a pretty peaceful drive. It's amazing the stuff that we do, the hustle for a podcast, but it's well worth it. It started raining, but it stopped, so it's going pretty good. I'm doing really good right now.
Yes, indeed. Where are you located at right now?
I just crossed the Alabama line.
All right, you're making good time, man. You be safe in this weather. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we all know we had an exciting weekend of HBCU sports action. You know, we had
Before we start, let's just take a moment, just a brief moment of silence for Tennessee State. We got to take this moment for them.
Right. All right. That's the linebacker from Tennessee State, Christian Abercrombie. Correct, Kels? I just lost Kels, ladies and gentlemen. But you know, it's a sad situation when you have that linebacker there, Mr. Abercrombie. He was injured in the Vanderbilt game, and I think I have Kels back.
Right.
All right, got
so
Kels back.
Go ahead.
You back with me?
I'm here.
Yeah, we were just talking about Christian Abercrombie, correct?
Correct.
Right, and he was injured in the Tennessee State versus Vanderbilt game, which is going to be one of the games that we are going to be talking about tonight. Last I saw Kels, they say he was out of surgery and breathing, but he, wasn't fully aware. So, have you had any other updates outside of that?
I have not. I haven't. I mean, that's the last I heard was the surgery, so I didn't even know that he was out of the surgery. So
right.
I guess that would be the last thing. So I guess we'll just have to continue to monitor that. And just keeping Tennessee State in prayer.
Right. And, this guy here that I'm going to speak of is not an HBCU graduate, but I want to say a prayer for the family of Wade Sims, LSU basketball player who passed away. Tragedies going on, in real life in football. Sometimes, Kels, you have to take a step back and, really, really thank God for being able to wake up and do the things that we do. Hopefully, Mr. Abercrombie will be able to recover. And if he can't play football anymore, at least be able to finish his education, earn his degree, and have a productive life going forward. Unfortunately, we can't say the same for Mr. Sims, who tragically lost his life this past weekend. So, ladies and gentlemen, love your loved ones, pray for them, and it's just hard when things like this happen because we're here to talk about sports, but you still have to deal with the realities of life when it's lost or when it's hampered in a way to where,
correct.
It's hard to talk about, but being media person as we are, we just want to acknowledge the families of both young men, African American men, who are making something of themselves, Kels.
Right.
So we're going to have a special guest tonight, a guest who's making her second appearance on Black College Experience, but she has changed positions. She is no longer at her alma mater of Shaw. She is the new volleyball coach for the Kentucky State Lady Thoroughbreds, and that is the one and only DiShondra Goree. She'll be joining us shortly. We're going to talk to her about her move to Kentucky State and how she's faring in this season, because she took over a very, very good Kentucky State team. They won the SEAC championship. I think they won 3 straight SEAC championships. So that's an awesome door to walk through. You know, you coming from a championship atmosphere, you bring your championship atmosphere to this championship atmosphere, and you married the two. So we're gonna talk to her about that later on.
Right.
But you're on the road, so we're gonna go ahead and get this show on the road. First up, before we talk about football games, I want to talk about the big game that's going to be occurring at the end of the year, the Bayou Classic. I have an article that says that the Bayou Classic TV agreement with NBC Sports has been extended through 2021, a 3-year extension. That is great. I mean, because we have that atmosphere, we have that exposure for the SWAC.
Of course, super excited. Anytime we get a chance, to get the exposure is always great, but to be able to extend the contract is even. I mean, just like you said, it's a long time running. It's
Right.
a long history of being on TV with the legendary coaches and the athletes. So, the fan base, it's just a lot of camaraderie around Bayou Classic. It's more than what people see. It's more than a game. It's more than Battle of the Bands. It's a rivalry. It's a long rivalry. It's a bitter rivalry. And so, it's the one weekend where you're friends, even if you're friends with someone from Grambling or you're friends with somebody from Southern, for 4 quarters, you're not friends. You're rooting against your friends. So,
Right.
I think it's very exciting that came about. And again, when you have HBCUs, when you can get these type things done, it's always great, because on the flip side, sometimes no matter how long these actual contracts have been in place, they can cut them at any given moment. So, again, I think that's a great thing.
Right. Well, we have someone on the line, and it's not our guest, but it's somebody who is very, very important to this show. None other than this gentleman right here. Take a listen to this intro I have for him. I'm pretty sure he's going to like it when he hears it.
The champ is here! The champ is here! The champ is here!
He is our BCE Week 5 champion, picking 13-2 this week. PP, what's going on?
Not much, man. Just trying to make it.
Yes, indeed. Man, you the first 2-time champ, man. We're going to have to stop your streak, man.
Hey, I like to thank St. Augustine for doing it.
Yes, indeed. Them St. Augustine Falcons, Denzel Huff's St. Augustine Falcons. But let's go ahead and get started with the first game. Kels, the biggest game this week in black college football was none other than the State Fair Classic in Dallas, Texas, between Prairie View and Grambling. This game has been ruled by Grambling in recent years. Of course, Grambling has been the cream of the crop in the SWAC West for the last couple of years. But with this game, Kels, and we picked this game, and I picked the winner. A power exchange shift is happening in the West, because Prairie View defeated Grambling to claim the State Fair Classic trophy, which is a trophy on top of a base of the uprights, 1/2 Prairie View, 1/2 Grambling G. They defeat the Grambling Tigers by a score of 22-16 in the 93rd State Fair Classic. And that means Prairie View is now 2-0 in the SWAC, and Grambling now sits at 1-1 in the SWAC. Talk to us about what you think about this game, Kills, and what this means for the SWAC West going forward.
Well, I said it before. One of the things that we always look back at the past records, and that you're looking at, okay, well, Grambling was the cream of the crop. Grambling did win on Bayou Classic. You've gone on to SWAC Championship. You've gone on to Celebration Bowl. But the one thing that people really did not realize, or really failed to realize and failed to mention, is that out of Southern, Grambling, and Prairie View, the only of the three that has a veteran quarterback is Prairie View. So when you factor in that, and then you factor in Dooley, who we've seen the success from Grambling, then you have the pieces of the puzzle to put it together and say, boom, this is what it is. And people have laughed, and we've had this conversation that Prairie View will be a contender. I'm one of those people. You just got to give credit where credit is due. Like, you just have, okay, I got to admit when there's trouble in the home team, you got to admit when somebody's just playing ball. I have not watched Grambling this season, but I have got a chance to watch Prairie View. Watch Prairie View when they played North Carolina Central for MEAC SWAC Challenge. So, it was a great game. Just picked it apart. It was a great game. So, and that score was like 44-21. So I think, it's going to be a battle of the West. Let's not be surprised if it be Alcorn versus Prairie View.
I know it. I know. We're going to get to the Alcorn Braves later. I mean, this game, when we were getting the score updates, I couldn't believe it. Prairie View scored the first 12 points of the game, and then Grambling got on the board, but not with a touchdown, not with a field goal. Actually, Prairie View scored the first 2 touchdowns of the game, but they had the kicks blocked and one failed. But, then Prairie View had a field goal, so they're up 15-0. That's a baseball score. But then Grambling does get on the board with a safety. So through 4 quarters, Grambling only had really 2 points. Prairie View added on another touchdown to make it 22-2. And when that score went over the press box, because we were at the Southern Alcorn game, I mean, I wasn't shocked, but I expected it, to be a good game, because we picked this game as our tiebreaker, and all of us had Grambling scoring points. They did eventually score 2 touchdowns late, but the game was already basically decided to try and make a game of it. Final score ended up being 22-16. Jalen Morton, again, 269 yards passing. DeWanya Tucker also led Prairie View in rushing and receiving with 72 and 89 yards, respectively. Alden Clark led Grambling with 144 yards through the air. LaDemian Brooks, 53 yards on the ground. Derek Clark, 49 yards in the air. But the 2 touchdowns were thrown by Hickenbottom. Hickenbottom and Alden Clark have played musical tiger chairs with their quarterback position all year long. Neither one of them grasping a stranglehold on the position like Devontae Kincaid did last year. And this is what's hurting Grambling. No offensive identity. So Prairie View now sits atop the SWAC West, but they also have to go through Southern. So I know Southern, having a tough time right now. We'll get to the game later, but they still have to go through Southern before they can lay claim on the SWAC West title. So your Jaguars still have something to say about that power shift in the West.
Absolutely. I mean, it's plenty of football to be played. And, and going into this week, the Jaguars are going into – so with us going into a bye week, we'll just see what actually happens going into the bye week. But like you said, again, it still has to come. It's football left. And we know anybody can have a bad game, and one bad game leads to, it could be destructive. So, we'll see what happens.
Now, speaking of your Southern Jaguars, and this bye week is definitely needed. It was y'all homecoming this week, and you all had the defending, 4-time SWAC East champions on the bluff for homecoming. A lot of people were thinking, what is Southern doing? Why would you invite a team like Alcorn to play on homecoming? But this is a team that if Southern wants to win the SWAC championship, it looks like they're going to have to go through Alcorn. So, you know, it's good to play Alcorn and see how you fare against them, but the Jaguars had their homecoming ruined by Alcorn. A stout defensive effort by the Braves, a 20-3 victory over the Jaguars, spoiling homecoming for many of the fans. But, you know, when I talked to Coach Odoms in the post-game news conference, and of course, you know, he lamented how his offense performed, but he did say his defense only gave up 13 points. The last touchdown was a pick six ran back by Alcorn. I asked him would he use this game as a measuring stick, because if you want to win a SWAC championship, Alcorn is the beast of the East. So you now know where you fare going toe-to-toe with the beast of the East. And in unconventional conditions, because it was raining, it wasn't ideal, but Alcorn played in it and was able to execute for 20 points. You know, and he said this is a good measuring stick because they are a good team. This is the best team that they've played all year. So if Southern is able to right their ship in this bye week and get that offensive clicking, and if they can beat Prairie View, Grambling, and Texas Southern, Southern can, you know, position itself to potentially play Alcorn again in the SWAC championship, because, you know, they've already played them. They took their best shot with the loss. But, you know, if you want to listen to Coach McNair's after post-game video, you can listen to that on Black College Experience. As always, Coach O's post-game conference is also on Black College Experience's Facebook page. So you can see what both coaches had to say about the games. You can look at the box score on SWAC.org and just see how this just wasn't a pretty game for Southern, Kels and PP. What do you think, PP?
I said from the beginning that I trust Noah Johnson more than I did Southern quarterback.
John Lampley and Bubba McDaniel, they played two quarterbacks.
Offense. Yeah, I trust their offense more than I do Southern right now, because when you look at the landscape of the SWAC and the quarterbacks, it's really like maybe a handful that you can really say, yeah, I can go into a game and win with them. Mm-hmm. And that's Alcorn and Prairie View right now. Maybe Glass, maybe Fowler, but the rest of them are like this up in the air right now.
We haven't won a game yet, Frat.
But we did. Look at how we played against North Dakota, and they beat a ranked. I mean, so we've been playing monster teams. I mean, we're going into Bethune-Cookman.
Yeah,
another
tough for their homecoming. Yeah, I'm not happy about that.
Yeah, but I trust Noah. Yeah, I trust Noah. Noah and Moten probably they're head and shoulders the best quarterbacks in the SWAC right now. So.
Yes, indeed. But
so when you said, you know, that's the question. Why would you schedule Alcorn? Well, when you look at it from a financial standpoint, you want butts and seats.
Yeah.
That's why you schedule Alcorn, because you want butts and seats. And that's why he scheduled Alcorn, because you want butts and seats for a homecoming game.
Exactly.
Now, the rain still edged, still got it. Still was one of those, you know, I think with homecoming, regardless, and Southern people going to come anyway, but the weather got it. But, just losing like that, you know, you got defense and special teams doing their thing, and then you got offense that was just completely invisible yesterday. Like, so, you know, not to harp on it, but like you said, this bye week is much needed.
Exactly.
Very much needed.
I mean, with me being a Valley alum, but I'm down here covering Southern, of course, I want them to do well with me covering Coach Odoms. I would like to have him be in a happy mood, except when he plays my Delta Devils. And after this bye week, your Jaguars, they have Prairie View coming to town. So you need to get your offense in gear, because the team that you're going to have to go through, the team that looks like the cream of the crop in the SWAC West, is when you're going to Prairie View, on the road to Prairie View on the 13th.
Yeah, we're traveling to Prairie View. Yeah, we're traveling to Texas.
So this bye week game plan, go watch all the Prairie View film you can watch, see what you can take advantage of, because the season on the line for Southern right now, as far as, you know, Prairie View looks to be the team to beat. They're the favorite right now. They weren't the favorite preseason, but if people could change their vote right now, they would change to Prairie View. I mean, no one thought Dooley had anything. Prairie View lost their starting quarterback. Nico Hollins transferred. They had Morton, who played very little last year. McCullers was the backup to Hollins last year. He's not playing. So Morton comes in as a completely unknown. You have a diminutive running back in DeWanya Tucker. I mean, no one saw this coming from Prairie View. I know I didn't, because they didn't have a return.
Oh, well, I didn't call it alone. Yeah,
Wait
I
a minute.
called it alone. So, yeah. Well, I didn't
Remember,
say
I
this the
said-
last couple of years. Yeah. You did.
I know I said from the beginning, I said that Grambling and Southern came into the season with quarterback issues.
Yep, you did. Yep, you did. And PV is the only one with a veteran quarterback. But let's take a commercial break before she comes on.
All right, we're going to take a quick commercial break. Hopefully Coach Goree will be getting ready to come on soon. We'll be right back in 31 seconds with more Black College Experience.
I already knew that I was going to go to college, from a young age. I definitely want to major in political science. After that, I'm going to get my law degree. Then I'm going to come back to Detroit, boost the economy, become the mayor or something, try to make the situation better for other people. I feel like I owe it to the city. I'm determined. It's going to happen. My name is Justin, and I am your dividend.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're back with more Black College Experience. We're still waiting for our guest coach, DiShondra Goree, to call in. Hopefully she'll be calling in soon. But more football to talk about. The rest of the SWAC scores from this week's games. Let's see what we have here. Alabama A&M defeated Jackson State 21-16. Jackson State led this game 16-0. And in our weekly picks, we all picked Alabama A&M. Basically, I think, except for Manny. Manny's going to always ride for his Tigers. So he was sitting pretty over there while Jack State was up 16-0. Carlos tapped me and said, Derek, Jack State up 16-0. I said, oh, Lord, I picked Alabama A&M. But when Alabama A&M started marching back, I mean, if I could have been at that stadium to watch Alabama A&M come back on Jackson State, I'm pretty sure the fans in Memorial Stadium, Veteran Memorial Stadium, were not happy. And I just heard a ding. I think we have our guest on. Let me make sure this is her. And it is our guest, Coach DiShondra Goree of the now Kentucky State Thoroughbred. I have to make sure I don't say Shaw. That's just what I identify you on. How you doing, Coach?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Oh, we are doing great. We are doing great. So, how's your Sunday evening going, other than joining us on Black College Experience?
I'm enjoying my Sunday, my day off. We've had a very hectic and busy schedule for the last 6 weeks, so it's good to be able to rest, relax, and have some peace and quiet.
Yes, indeed. So, we know who you are. So why don't you go ahead and tell our listeners who haven't heard our show with you before who you are and what it is you do.
My name is DiShondra Goree, and I am the newly appointed head volleyball coach at Kentucky State University. I am the former head volleyball, head softball coach at Shaw University. I'm a Fort Wayne, Indiana native and an alum of Shaw University.
Yes, indeed. And you're a championship coach, a 3-time CIAA Coach of the Year, correct?
Yes, sir.
And then you played softball also. Did you coach softball also at Shaw too, right?
Yes, I coached both volleyball and softball, and back in the early 2000s, I was a 2-sport athlete at Shaw. I competed as a volleyball and softball player back then as well.
So, ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening, if you want someone that can coach and also show the players how to play, this lady is it. She played the game. She coached the game at a championship level. So, you're now the head coach at Kentucky State, and I'm looking at your record in the SEAC West. You're 8-2. behind Spring Hill. Talk about your journey from Shaw to Kentucky State. What made you decide to leave home and come to Kentucky State?
Well, that's a very common question. I probably answer that question every day since I decided to make the transition. To keep the story very brief, I had full intention to come back as the head volleyball softball coach at Shaw University for the upcoming season. The opportunity at Kentucky State was presented to me the last week, believe it or not, last week in July, and I made that decision on August 1st to make the move to come to Frankfurt. The decision came, with no wrongdoing of my team, my girls. They're the reason I stayed as long as I did, because I was committed to Shaw. As I said earlier, it's my alma mater, and I participated in those two programs. So I wanted to finish what I started, and my first recruiting class of freshmen are now seniors at Shaw. So I wanted to see them through. I just felt as if the athletic administration wasn't fully giving me the support that I needed to be able to continue my success. And as I said, the opportunity here in Frankfurt at Kentucky State opened up in the 11th hour. I wasn't looking for the opportunity, but it manifested. And I spoke with the current athletic director, A.D. Thomas, and she's a visionary. She has a plan and a vision for Kentucky State athletics. She's very well experienced in a number of different athletic programs from HBCU and coming to Kentucky State from University of Kansas. So she's someone that I believe in and someone that I can believe can take Kentucky State athletics to the next level and bring them to the next era. And so I'm a huge part of her vision as we move to elevate and evolve the volleyball program at Kentucky State. There was an opportunity at KSU for me to coach just the one sport, so I'm solely just the head volleyball coach here, and my budget is almost double what I was using or utilizing at Shaw, and there's a salary increase and opportunity there as well. So all arrows were pointing that it was time for me to make that transition. It's been hard on me. I will be very honest when I say that. It's been a tough transition, meaning that I missed my team that I walked away from at Shaw. I still stay in contact with some of the girls, some of my former colleagues. But it was a very tough emotional decision that I had to make. But at the end of the day, I needed to do what was going to be best for me in my career. And so not looking back, no regret, I made the decision to commit and be invested here at Kentucky State. And I'm going to give them everything that I have, much like I did at Shaw University.
Yes, and like I said, all the arrows, larger budget, you don't have to coach more sport. They gave you a salary increase. I believe in the rule of three in baseball. 3 strikes you out, but that's 3 home runs that you just hit. And like you said, Shaw is home for you, and that is one thing I wanted to talk to you about. Is sometimes it's hard to leave home, but when an opportunity presents itself where you can better yourself, it's not to say that home wasn't good, but sometimes you have to leave the roof to grow, and looks like that's what you're doing at Kentucky State with what you have over there. So now you're a championship coach at Shaw. Kentucky State has won 3 straight SEAC championships. So talk about merging your championship culture with the champions that you have to coach this year, because the previous coach, I found, she wanted to go to Texas, so you inherited her championship team, but I know you're going to want to do things your way. So how has that been, merging your championship culture with the ones that the young ladies already have?
When I first accepted the position to come here to Kentucky, I made up in my mind that I wasn't going to come in and make a lot of large changes, because I was inheriting a team that had already developed and had the championship mindset. And so I've been making small changes here and there with our level of discipline. I've changed an offensive system that they used last year. Last year they ran a 5-1 and did it very effectively. This present year we're operating in a 6-2. We just recently shifted back to the 5-1, but I haven't completely eliminated the 6-2. They ran a different defensive system last year. They ran rotational defense. I'm a perimeter defense type of coach. And so there's small and subtle changes that I'm making to our fundamentals and our skill set. But I wasn't going to make my job more difficult. I wasn't going to make their collegiate athletic experience any more different than it already was when you're working with a new coach. And then especially the timing of my late hire. So I didn't have a lot of time to build that relationship with the players. So every day I'm doing something to do team bonding and building that relationship between player and coach. And then, as I said, I'm making small, subtle changes with certain aspects of our offensive and defensive game. But for the most part, the girls are working hard. We've been riddled with some early on injuries, some pre-existing, and then some unfortunate things that can occur to anybody that plays a collegiate level sport.
Right.
But the girls have been rehabbing, resting up. We have a very busy and hectic schedule. So in between all of those matches that we've been competing in, when we're able to get in 2 days of consecutive practice, I'm really working on quality reps with them and really making sure that their mental and emotional state is right up there with their physical abilities. So it's been a bit of a challenge, and I expected it to be that just because a new coach coming in 3 days before preseason practices. But I wanted this challenge, and I'm willing and capable of meeting this challenge head on. And I'm getting now the girls are starting to buy into my philosophy. They're starting to understand that they have the ability to turn the corner right now. And so we're doing really well in conference. We have one more conference cluster coming up in a couple of weeks. And we're looking to continue the success that we've been having in our conference play.
Right, because right now in your last game, you beat Albany 3-1. Your next game you have coming up, I think, is against Salem?
Yes,
second?
Salem International. Yes.
So talk to us about some of the players, that you have. Who are some of your team leaders?
And I have several that have really stepped up. I have Arlandria. She's a senior. She transferred in last season with the previous coach from Temple College. She's a middle hitter for me and one of my co-captains, and she's a girl that brings it. She's very intense and passionate. She wants this second ring. She's very hungry. She goes hard. She's the spark on our team. She's one of those players that picks us up when we're down, and she's someone that the team trusts. So they know that day in and day out, she's going to give her team her all. And so she's been, that spark plug for us. And another one would be Robin Poole. She's a sophomore. She came in also last year under the previous coach, and she's been a fixed rotation outside for me. She's been SEAC Offensive Player of the Week 2 weeks back-to-back. She's been someone that puts the ball away. She has a 32-inch vertical. She's only standing at 5'8", but she touches close to 10 feet. And so it's hard to hit over her block. I've only seen one person be able to hit over it. So many teams that face us try to go around it. And she's very hard to stop. When she's firing on all cylinders, she's unstoppable. And she's been that force, that consistent force, both offensively and defensively for Kentucky State. So she's also been, a gem for this team. I've had last year's libero step in as the setter. Her name is Gabrielle from Puerto Rico. She stepped in and didn't question my judgment when I asked her to transition from libero, from defense to being the setter in our offense. She's run the offense. We've done a 5-1 this whole weekend. We went 5-0 against all the teams in the East, and we ran a 5-1. She was our dominant setter, and she's averaging a little over 35 assists per match. So she's been consistent, very coachable, is also someone that, you know, whatever I ask her to do, it's yes, coach, yes, ma'am, very respectful, works hard for her team as well. And then I have a right side freshman, Mariah Peachy, who when she hits, she can put that ball through the floorboard. She's someone that has great power. Right now she's battling a shoulder injury, so she's been out for about a week and a half. We're hoping to have her back in another week. But she's been someone that's been consistent for us as well. And when she hits that ball, it sounds like thunder. And I see a lot of people look up at the ceiling like, is it raining? Because when she hits. She comes through. So those are the four that I would say that have been stepped up and been team leaders for us right now. So I'm looking to those four to continue to push their team and be that peer leader on the court.
Kels?
Okay, so Coach, you talk about the team building. The team building that you do and trying to establish the bond between coach and player. So this is a different type question. I'll ask you, what kind of goals have you set, like personal goals, and how successful have you been in meeting those goals since you transitioned over to Kentucky State?
I'm a very goal-oriented person, so I wanted to have short-term, mid-term, and then long-term goals. So one of my short-term goals was to build a connection with the team. So even before we had our first preseason practice, I met with all the players individually, and I talked to the returners. I have 10 returners from last year's championship team, and I talked to those 10. I sat them down one-on-one in my office, and we talked about how things went for them individually last year, their thoughts on how the season went, how they connected with their coach last season, the goals that they had for themselves this upcoming season, what they do well, so what's the asset they bring to the program, and then what are some things that they would like for me to work with them on as far as growth and development in their game. So I wrote down and took notes based on all of those individual meetings, and I've been incorporating those skill sets and mental toughness type of drills and things into our practices and into our meetings. I have captain meetings about once a week. We have team meetings about once every 2 weeks. We do film sessions. And then we've had quite a few road trips. So in the past 6 weeks, we've only had one weekend where we had no tournament. And we've been, as I said, moving and grooving this whole season. So I use those road trips to kind of build connections. We're sitting in restaurants, eating together. We may play a fun game in the hotel or on the bus. I keep it very simple because, again, 10 of my current 13 are returners from last year's team. So their chemistry and camaraderie has already been cultivated, and most of them stay in the same resident hall together as well. So they're eating pre-game, post-game meals together. They're going to church together. They're going to the movies, the mall, and all these other places. So what I try to do individually is I try to use a little bit of each practice time for us to play a small game, whether it's a psychological activity or I ask them questions to get to know them. And then, of course, I open up, open the doors, the Pandora's box, and I allow them to ask me questions to get to know me as well. So I think that's very important as we try to work on building that player-coach bond and relationship. But pretty soon we'll be attending church together. I'm planning that coming up in the next couple of weeks before we head into this second cluster, and definitely before we go down to Alabama for postseason play. But I'll also be looking to spend individual time, going out to lunch with each individual player as we approach the middle towards the end of our season, just so they can each have an hour, 45 minutes to spend with me to ask me any questions that they want to ask, or where I can ask them anything about themselves. But they'll have their own hour of time with me where they don't have to share it with other team members. And I think that's vitally important. My coach, did that with me back in the day because, she felt that I would function better and be more effective and efficient if I trusted her and if I knew all that I needed to know about her. So I want to open that up and allow my players to have that level of comfort with me. So we'll start what I'm going to call Goree lunch hour pretty soon, but I won't be eating in the caf with the girls. We're going to go out in Frankfurt and find some places where we can partake and enjoy each other's company.
Okay. Now, Coach, you talked about them buying into your vision per se. What exactly is it that you're telling the girls that they're starting to buy into? What is the motto? What is it that you're telling your team that they're finally buying into?
At practice, I preach disciplined, fundamentally sound volleyball. And I tell the girls in practice, pre-match, during the match, after the match, if we're going to be a team that's going to be consistent in all aspects of our game, and that's serving, serve, receive, setting, offense, defense, blocking, if we're going to be, we make the decision because we control what's on our side of the court, not what is on the other side. So if we do the small things really well, and if we're able to execute and play together as a team, play hard, play loose, have fun, and then play fundamentally sound volleyball, we will be a team that is very hard to stop. Because I have a team of talented young ladies, but I preach to them all the time, we cannot be a sloppy, undisciplined team. We've got to be a team that shows respect to the game on and off the court. So that means that when we're not competing, we're on time for practice, we're on time for strength and conditioning workouts, we're on time for pool workouts, yoga, Zumba, whatever it is. If we're leaving and departing campus to head to a facility for our competition, we're there 15 minutes ahead of time, dressed and ready to go. There's no excuses, there's no nonsense, and I don't want to hear complaining. So now that they're believing those things, they're understanding, okay, Coach Goree has told us numerous times if we play fundamentally sound volleyball that we're going to beat teams. So now they're starting to believe in that, and now we're starting to turn the corner a little bit. As I said early on, we had some unexpected injuries that manifested, and then some old pre-existing injuries that kind of reconjured up and were irritated. So now that the girls are coming back healthy, now that they're starting to understand that playing together, playing hard, and being that fundamentally sound team that I've preached about, now we're starting to reap some of the benefits of that hard work that they're putting in during practice time.
Yes, indeed. And that's what you want to do, because you want to, get to know your team and find their strengths and your weaknesses, and having that one-on-one time with them is definitely going to allow you to do that. But with you coming into your first season at Kentucky State, we know you had your recruiting footprint at Shaw. So talk about a new recruiting area, Kentucky. Did you recruit Kentucky any when you were at Shaw?
I did not. I did not get anyone from Kentucky.
So how have you been, I guess, setting up your recruiting boundaries, getting to know high school coaches in the area, also keeping with your current recruiting connects? Because, hey, what's been working for you has been the girls who've been playing for you at Shaw. Of course, you want to continue to keep those recruiting connections, but also make some new recruiting connections in the area where you are now in Kentucky.
Absolutely. And I'm a Midwest gal, so being from Indiana, I'm very familiar with the talent pool that's located in the Midwestern states. And even while at Shaw, I was able to recruit some young ladies from the Midwest, Wisconsin, Illinois, Michigan, Ohio. So I'm very familiar with the surrounding states here in the Midwest, and I've worked very hard to build those connections while at Shaw, so I still have those connects. I've reached out to them and just mentioned to them that I've transitioned from Shaw to now Kentucky State, and I've emphasized that my coaching style and expectations have not changed. Simply my my destination and location has. And so I'll still be bringing in young ladies from the West Coast, from out of the country. I will have some international recruits next season. I will have some young ladies from the Midwest, from the South. So I've never been a coach that has zeroed in on just one or two particular states. When I was recruiting those 3 years down at Shaw, I worked very hard to open up my recruiting style. And so in doing that, I was able to bring in some talented girls. So I'm expecting to do the same thing, if not better, at Kentucky, because we have, a different set of facilities that are at Kentucky State. And then, of course, with it being a public institution, there's a number of institutional scholarships and different things that are beneficial to young ladies that I bring in from surrounding states. So I'm hitting those states really hard. And as I said, I'm going to continue to be a coach that looks up north, West Coast, East, South, Midwest, and then I'll be bringing in some international young ladies as well for next season and the future seasons.
Yes, indeed. Well, if you're ever down in Louisiana, I might have to let you give my daughter a lesson because she's in her first year of playing volleyball, and she's been getting adjusted to it. I've been trying to teach her what I can teach her, but I'm pretty sure if she got a lesson from you, she would improve 100% from what I can teach her.
Absolutely.
So you have to let me know when you come to Baton Rouge. I mean, she's been doing well. She's 6th grader, first year playing, and as a proud father, I got a chance to see her score her first point, and I was excited. So I'm hoping she continues to play volleyball. It's just when she said she wanted to play, I was like, well, really? So I was excited. So and I was like, well, I know a real good volleyball coach. So if she ever decides she wants to go to Kentucky State, if you're still there in a couple of years, like 8 years, you can give my baby a scholarship.
Absolutely, yes. I'll let you know when I'm down in those parts. I'll definitely do that.
So, Coach, we want to thank you for coming on and talking to us about your move from Shaw to Kentucky State, and we're looking forward to you continuing your success personally and professionally, and also continuing the previous success of the young ladies that you inherited. So we want to thank you for coming on Black College Experience, and please feel free to give us a call and let us know how you're doing throughout the year, and just update us on your journey for another championship, Coach.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Oh, we do too, Coach. Thank
you. All right. Thanks. Enjoy your Sunday.
Same to you, Coach.
Too. Good night. All right.
Wow, Kels.
All right. Bye-bye.
She is amazing.
She is.
She is amazing. I mean,
I think she's building wonderful.
Kels? Kels still traveling. But since we lost Kels there. Oh, there she is. She's back.
Oh, yeah. This is in and out. So let's not be surprised if she brings another championship to Kentucky State this year.
Right. I mean, they're 8-2 right now, behind Spring Hill. So as she gets those girls to buy into her system, I'm pretty sure she's going to win some championships there. But we have one of our good buddies on the phone, Willie Scott. What's going on?
Good evening.
Look at him saying, talking some good evening like he Count Dracula or something. Man, what's going on?
Oh man, I'm still grieving right now.
Yeah, we talked about y'all Alcorn spoiling y'all homecoming last night, man. You want to air your grievances? Go ahead and speak your mind, man.
It's not. I don't. It's a football game.
Right.
Homecoming is for the alumni that comes back in. It's for the fans, but for football players, it's just another football game. Doesn't matter if it's homecoming, Bayou Classic, State Fair Classic. That those games there is just a name. But coming down to the X's and O's and what happens between the goalposts are different things.
Yes, indeed. And I was on the sideline. First time I came down to the sideline in a while, I could see the emotion.
Yeah, kind of proud of you. Kind of shocked me a little bit.
Yeah, normally it's Keisha on the sideline, but I could see the emotion in the players' faces. And with me being a former football player, I know the feeling of losing homecoming when I played in high school. Being a former athlete, I know the pain of losing and winning. I wanted to console some of the players, but I just felt like, you know what, it probably wouldn't be the best time because, it's homecoming and it's Alcorn. So, Southern don't want to lose to Alcorn. So, like I said, like Hale said earlier, this is the bye week coming up. Coach Odoms get a chance to get under the hood and try to fix what's wrong with the offense because the defense played great. Your defense played great, only allowing Alcorn 13 offensive points. That pick 6 was, result of the offense. But the Southern defense played very, very well.
Well, the thing about it is, though, defense wins championships, but if you can't put points on the board, no matter how good the defense plays, it's negated to 0 points or to not enough points to actually win a contest. The hurt in the game is playing a team that's about talent-wise is the same, but effort-wise from a higher staff was not the same. It's hard to really say in depth, but Fred McNair at Alcorn did an excellent job of putting his kids in the right positions, in the right schemes, in the right places to be successful, and it showed.
Right.
It showed in a 20-3 win in a contest that was 3-0 for a while. It was 0-0 the whole first half until the last few minutes of the second quarter going into halftime. And even at a score of 13-3, you're still 1 or 2 plays away from being a tie score or a 3-point deficit going into the fourth quarter. But you have to be able to put the right pieces of the puzzle on the field at the right times to be successful.
Right. So, like I said, Southern is on their bye week, and hopefully Coach Odoms can get the offense in gear. And, you're going to be playing the next game is against Prairie View, who, like we said earlier, I don't know if you saw some of the memes I posted. I was saying Prairie View has stolen Graham's glow, and I posted a picture of Show Enough trying to get his glow back. I mean, Prairie View looks like the cream of the crop in the SWAC West.
Well, actually, Prairie View is a team in the SWAC period right now. As painful as it sounds for me to actually admit that and say that, is the truth. Coach Eric Dooley has put together a staff of coaches that are second to none. I mean, you got Mark Fredericks that played for Pete Richardson that came from Southern University. You got Ted White, which is Howard's probably all-time best quarterback that ever came through Howard University. I mean, Eric Dooley played for one of the greatest coaches that ever coached a game of football in HBCU history of our Coach Eddie Robinson, but was a protege of Pete Richardson for about 14 years.
So he's been taught by the 2 SWAC legends.
I mean, he's actually taken his mentality and his mannerisms from Eddie Robinson, and he's taking his coaching style from Pete Richardson, and he's actually dominating right now from either the losses he had in non-conference to the PWI schools that were close. It's all Pete Richardson's coaching style and actually coaching strategies. It's amazing to see the growth of Coach Dooley. I'm very proud of him. Talk to him all the time and tell him how proud I am of his style and his change. And I also tell him that it's going to be a different day come October the 13th when we roll in town. And he just laughed. Same way you did. He just laughed, and he has utmost respect for Coach Dooley and his staff. But the thing about it is, though, if we don't put our kids in the right positions and the right places to be successful, there's going to be a long night in Prairie View, Texas, October the 13th.
Exactly. All right, so we're going to go ahead and transition to the rest of our conference games because, we want to go ahead and make sure we get the rest of the conference games out. Then we're going to try to review our picks for the week. Jumping over to the MEAC, South Carolina State versus North Carolina A&T. We picked this game also, and all of us picked North Carolina A&T. But, by the second quarter, South Carolina State had all of us shaking kills. I mean, I know I didn't expect them to jump out on the Aggies like that. They jumped out to a 16-3 lead on North Carolina A&T. What did you think about that when you saw how South Carolina State was able to stymie the Aggie offense and score on the Aggie defense?
Well, I really didn't think much of it, period, because I was on the road. So I didn't see it, but I did record it. So that is the thing about DVR. I can record it, and I did record the game so I can go back and watch it.
Well, Willie, did you see the game?
No, I didn't. I don't watch much MEAC football. I like North Carolina A&T. I don't watch a lot of MEAC football. But I never expected to look at my phone app and see North Carolina A&T being down. I don't know what was the final outcome of the game
last week too.
Did North Carolina A&T come back and win?
No, they lost to Morgan State, but they came back and beat South Carolina State.
Right. Well, the thing about it is, though, it's 60 minutes of football.
It is.
I mean, we all line up and put our helmets on at the same exact way. In 60 minutes, if you can maintain and play 60 minutes of football, it's not how you start, it's how you finish.
Exactly.
And, I mean, North Carolina A&T has a winning pedigree to where they play 60 minutes of football, win, lose, or draw. And that's what happened with South Carolina State. You cannot take off a play. You cannot take off a series. I mean, if you do, a team of the caliber of North Carolina A&T, it's going to come back and hurt you.
I agree with you, Willie. I mean, I watched the game, and when they got up 16-3, I was afraid. I was like, they're going to lose again. How can you beat a top team in the OVC, a middle-of-the-road FBS squad, and then lose to bottom-run MEAC squads, which would happen when they lost to Morgan State. And then they were losing to South Carolina State. But the Aggies bounced back. Like you said, 60 minutes of football. In the last 30 minutes, South Carolina State didn't sniff the end zone. North Carolina A&T scored 21 points to claim a 31-16 victory. I mean, it was a resounding victory also. They ran the ball, they threw the ball there with. It was like it was a different team in the second half. But that's what champions do. This is their year to do something special in the MEAC. Have the undefeated season ended by Morgan State, but they still are in the driver's seat in the MEAC and for a chance at a Celebration Bowl berth. But to run down the rest of the scores in the MEAC, and they were some blowouts. In Norfolk State defeated Delaware State 54-28. That was expected. Bethune-Cookman defeated Savannah State 35-20. But the first half of the FAMU versus NCCU game, FAMU scored 40 points. in the first half and ended up with 55 total as they defeated the North Carolina Central Eagles 55-14. I would not have predicted that score. Matter of fact, we picked this game, Kels and PP. We all picked NCCU. So FAMU said, you know what? We're going to give y'all an L on top of giving North Carolina Central an L, and that's exactly what happened. But running over to the SEAC to talk about their games in the SEAC before we get ready to get out of here and run down the CIAA games also. Morehouse, Kels, stays undefeated. You know, they stayed undefeated by coming back and then holding off the upset bid from the Kentucky State Thoroughbreds. Benedict improves to 3-1, and they still have a tie for first in the East. Homecoming looms for Benedict against Virginia Lynchburg, and they wanted to be on our pick list this week, so they will be one of the teams we will be picking on. I'm pretty sure Benedict versus Virginia Lynchburg is going to be a sweep. I'm pretty sure none of us are going to pick Virginia Lynchburg to beat Benedict, especially with the way Benedict has been playing lately. They've been playing very, very good football, looking to, you know, rival Tuskegee in the SEAC to say, hey, you know what, we can play football at Benedict as well. They defeated Central State 24-14. Tuskegee defeated Lang 17-8. Albany State defeated Miles 30-24. Clark Atlanta defeated Allen University, and HBCU restarting the football program 31-6. And, of course, Morehouse stays undefeated 23-21 victory over Kentucky State. And Fort Valley State, oh, well, you know what? Virginia Lynchburg may have something here. They defeated Fort Valley State 31-14.
Yeah, that was
so
I
scrolled down looking at this. Benedict may not want none of Virginia University at Lynchburg because they come to play this year, y'all.
Yeah, I said they beat. You know, I was looking at the scores. I saw they handled Fort Valley.
Did they handle them? I mean, they handled them handedly. You know, and I didn't. When you see Virginia Lynchburg on the schedule, that's normally an automatic win. Pretty sure Fort Valley State didn't think that was going to happen to them. I don't think we want to see. Do we play Virginia Lynchburg this year, PP? I hope we don't, because if they beat Fort Valley like that, man, they might beat us.
We played Pine Bluff for homecoming.
Oh, good. Hopefully, we can get a win against Pine Bluff because they've been getting beat by everybody. They've been getting beat by everybody. But running down, let's see, we got up next CIAA for this week. Let me scroll down here. All right, this week's games in the CIAA, St. Augustine's defeated Elizabeth City State. Another game that we picked, and everyone picked Elizabeth City State except for our champion, Patrick Perry. That game helped him secure his second ever BCE Pick'em championship, weekly championship. So now he has 2 championships. And we are running out of time, so we're going to get ready to wrap up out of here. We're not going to do our picks tonight. We are going to do our picks with our panel, but we're going to be posting them on our social media. So make sure you check them out when we make our picks. If you want to pick against us, pick against us. Okay, let's go ahead and close us out.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us. I am from the road. Make sure you tune in next week. We will have none other than Morehouse head coach coming on, Coach Freeman will be joining us next week. The motto is fast, hard, and smart. They have lived up to the motto, fast, hard, and smart. Right now they are going 5-0. They are undefeated. So we're going to see if the Morehouse Maroon Tigers can remain undefeated. He will join us next week.
Undefeated. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are out of here. My big sister Kiwana, rest in heaven. Bub loves you. Peace out, everybody. Check us out next week. Good night.
Shutterstock Music.